Welcome to another episode of my podcast. I'm very excited for today's episode because I have on my friend Monarey Martinez, who is a very funny stand-up comedian. And also, how would you introduce your other skills and talents?
I would say, it depends. Some people would think that I'm schizophrenic because I hear voices.
Yeah.
But I'd say that I'd like to say psychic.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like a broad thing, isn't it? Saying psychic, because there's like different levels to being psychic, right?
Right. So like some people, if some people, they can just like have dreams at night and then they wake up and they write them down. They're like, dude, like I saw you in my dream last night and you were getting married. And then they're like, oh my God, that's so crazy. I got proposed to. Like some people have stuff like that happen to them, like my friend does. But when I meditate, if I think about a person, I just will get information about them.
Wow. So knowing that we were going to do this podcast today, did you meditate on me?
I did.
Oh my God, I love that.
I'll show you the screen. I sent myself, so I was like,
photos of me to meditate to?
Yeah.
Wow, how romantic.
I called your mom and she sent me nudes of you in the tub.
Perfect.
I hope you don't mind.
She does have nudes of me in the tub.
Yeah. I was like, oh no, I have them. So
she's going to leak them. If my career isn't going well, my mom has all my nudes to leak to really boost.
Stage mom. That's you need 100%. One. You need a momager.
She's my Kris Jenner.
Exactly. How you going to get there, Allie? But yeah, so I screenshot a thing of when you hit me up. I was like, okay, I have to go meditate on her. And I went to the park and I meditated on you.
Oh my God, it's almost like we went on a date, but I wasn't there.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And so obviously when I met you, maybe both of us didn't know that you could do this at the time. Mm-hmm. And then recently I saw you at a show and I hadn't seen you in a long time. And it was so nice seeing you. We bonded over an unfunny comic. And that's always it's always such a, I don't want to say it's one of my favorite things to do because it can be a negative habit.
I think this is what I always tell people, especially if you're spiritual, it's it doesn't mean that you don't experience negative aspects of your personality.
Sure.
And to make everything we're all just peace, love, and light, it's not necessary and it's not real.
Yeah, it's a very unrealistic standard to hold yourself to.
Totally. And it's if I see something that, if I'm passionate about comedy, just like someone might be passionate about food, and if someone puts together bad scrambled eggs that are not salted, we're not going to be well, this is great, we got to appreciate what you do. It's no, this tastes like shit.
Yeah. So
if I'm a comedian and I'm watching someone who either doesn't have a skill set that a lot of our peers would hold to a certain standard, then it's I'm allowed to say hey, that's trash.
Yeah, and it was just so good because I don't think we hadn't said hi to each other yet, and I don't think I had seen you until this moment, but we were watching this comic, and then at the exact same time, we just had this look on our face,
caught each other's face, oh fuck, you caught me hating. I caught you hate. Okay.
And it was the face of smelling a bad cheese, where you're that one didn't hit right.
Yeah,
it didn't feel good to watch.
I always say, I'm if you're a comic, just if you're a good musician, you have a comic's ear. So a musician, someone could be hitting notes and people are I don't know, she sounds like she's belting to me, but they're that was off key, that was pitchy, that was too much breath, that run was you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with comics. I can hear things, I'm that didn't make any sense. Oh, that premise did not, go off of that punch. You can just hear it, and you're ooh, no, whoa, what are they doing? Okay, they're going crazy. That's how I just hear it.
And it was just so nice because we saw each other, and then I was hi, Monarey, what's up?
You've been, I haven't seen you since when you weren't even 21 yet. You had gotten banned from not banned from the Comedy Store. I was
I was soft banned.
Yeah,
it was a soft ban.
And you were I can't come here anymore because I'm not 21. And I was wait, what? And then from there, you kind of just you just blew up, and then you just there was a few years in between that. But I feel when two people are doing shows a lot, you just don't ever see each other because you're both just doing stuff. And then I was oh my God, when I tapped in with you, I was oh, she's been on Joe Rogan. You just killed it.
I know, it's been so long. And it's funny because people who don't know comedy think that, like, if someone goes to one of your shows and they don't know anything about comedy, they're like, oh, so you perform with these people all the time? And it's like no.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I wish, and sometimes I'm like, I'm glad I don't.
I'm glad, totally.
But yeah, that being said, I think you're so funny.
Oh, thank you.
And I love you.
I think you're so funny.
And every time I see you, it's a treat.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
I was going to ask you, because I feel like a lot of times, like, people don't have these kind of conversations. Like, I was thinking earlier, and I was like,
pre or post med?
Post meditation, yeah. And I was thinking, I'm like, I feel like there's so many times where it's like, now that like the more years I spend in stand-up, you see people's like trajectory. Mm-hmm. Like, I was friends with like Tom Allen. Like, we first started around the same time before, you know, Chad Kroeger like blew up. Yeah. And I was friends with you and saw you in the open mic circuit before, you know, Joe Rogan or any of those things. And it's like, do you see the negative like ramifications sometimes of like you having like these like successful or like moments? Like,
kind of. Like, are you talking about like what kind of negative?
Like, are you seeing the way that it impacts, like, not even just like with other comics, but your relationships with, it could be your high school friends or with family or
not necessarily. I wouldn't call any of the like the effects of like having those experiences in comedy have like negative impact, but definitely some weird impacts where like all of a sudden my uncle wanted to do stand-up and said that I inspired him, which it's like part of me is like, oh, that's sweet, but also like the way he was going about it wasn't
you're not my demographic that I want to be inspiring.
Yeah, like, totally. And then he like sent me a video of his stand-up. I like didn't want to watch it because like screenshot of the YouTube video of his stand-up was like props. There were props involved, and I was like, I love that you're do that, but also I think he might have been like saying my name at possible open. So that's kind of the weird
like
thing.
Little like ventriloquist dummy is like named after you. He's like, this is my niece Allie, and you're like, fuck. Man.
That was weird. And then I don't know, I think if there's any like impact, I think a lot of it is just, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is like it's stuff that I've created in my own head, like certain fears where it's like, oh, that comic probably doesn't like me anymore because I did Joe's podcast and they think he's, you know, a racist, conservative, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, then I'll see them at a show and they'll be like, oh my God, how are you?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I totally thought that they might have.
Right.
Hey, so that's it. But I don't think I've noticed anything.
Right. Yeah. There's like times like I'll notice like where like say friends who like don't do stand up, like, you know, there are people who are like fans of comedy and like we would talk about it all the time, like, oh, like this is so cool. But then when they saw me doing like more and more things, like I almost feel like it like triggered them sometimes because they like wanted to like pursue their goals, whatever it is, and then they're just like, oh, I just work at the office, like this HR job that I've been doing for 10 years, not to be specific, but and then I'm like, I think sometimes like you're a reminder to them of like the things that they didn't like do or like go after.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have friends that are like still trying to figure out what they want to do. Right. And I think that that's such a hard thing, and I'm so glad that I found comedy when I did.
Yeah.
Because
you started like how young?
I started like 19 or 18. Yeah. So it was just like I knew that I wouldn't be good at an office job. Like, I think if I wasn't doing stand-up, I would want to be a truck driver because that seems super fun. And, like, I don't know, you can just be on the go. And
my uncle was a truck driver.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, we went to see Titanic in a movie theater one time. We got dropped off in a semi-truck, and I was like, oh, okay, haters.
That's so tight. I'd prefer a semi-truck over a limo any day.
Absolutely.
Any day. Did you know that in those, like, big Mack trucks, the back seat of it is a bed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so cool.
I was in that bed in the blankets, not like in a molestation way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, I love it. But I think like I would have done some sort of job that allowed me to do my own thing. Yeah. But I definitely have friends who are like, oh, you're so lucky, or like,
you're not lucky, it's a choice.
Totally. I'm like, I'm sure there's like part luck in that. Where it's like, you know, circumstances that.
But everybody gets, that's what people don't realize. Like, you know, like, yes, is there such thing as like nepotism? Can people have parents or whatever that are in the industry? And it's like, yes, that like exists. And, you know, those people, they'll have their opportunities. But it's like at the end of the day, then it's like you better hope talent comes to bail your ass out, because we've seen people who have nepotism, and it's like, okay,
it could only go so far.
You still have to catch the pass. So it's like, but everybody receives luck at some point in their life. So it's like whether it's a luck of like race, if it's a luck of who your family is, if it's a luck of like who you date, if it's a luck of, you know, being at the right time, right place. It's like we all get our fair share of luck. So to like look at other people and be like, oh, you're lucky you have that. It's like, no. I chose, and I like made sure that I wasn't gonna, you know, hate my life. Yeah. You know?
Have you read the book The Alchemist?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's such a good one.
Keith told me he gave it to you. Yeah. He gave me the book too. Yeah.
It's so good. I loved it, and I think that it's such like a great example of like the way that your life can go and how everything's kind of meant to be.
Totally.
If you just pick up and follow your gut or your heart or
your intuition.
Anything.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, I'm like, that little voice like in your head, I'm like, it's a compass.
Yeah.
It's not gonna steer you wrong. And so many people, because we have two head voices. We have the one that like stresses us out. That's like, if it's questioning you, it's not the voice to listen to. If it's
like what would an example of that be?
Like an example would be like, like, should I go there? Like, I don't know. Is anybody gonna like me there? Like, I don't know. I think he's mad at me. Like, like I should call her back. I don't know. Like that voice, if it's constant questions, like that's the voice of, you know, fear and ego. But the voice that's like, don't call her, or go over here, get this done. Like if it's commands, like that's your intuition. And that's a voice that you're like, okay, like if it's giving you directions or a command, like listen to it.
But I also think the voice that is the right voice, I think that also like it might sound like a command at first, but I think there still is fear behind that.
Totally.
Because I know even like starting comedy, I knew that I was supposed to do it, but there was so much fear and like what happens if like it doesn't work out or you know, whatever. But I think initially it was like, you have to do this.
Totally. And that's a voice that you ended up listening to, and then it's like, look at where it like took you. You know, but questioning yourself is normal. I just always tell people, I'm like, for every like negative question, like just like owe yourself as if it's like a responsibility to be like, all right, now I have to think of like one positive thing that can happen. Like if I'm like, oh, what if I go to this party and no one talks to me? Oh, or what if I go to this party and I meet the love of my life? You know what I mean? Like every time it's like there's just as much bad that can happen as just as much good. And it's just like up to you to be like, why is me thinking this right now? Am I going to spend a half hour when I could fucking get my hair to be cuter? You know?
That's also why I'm a huge fan of pros and cons lists.
Yeah.
Because it helps me like put all my thoughts on paper, all my fears and all the possibilities on paper. But then also I think it also helps because even if there's more cons on the paper, once I'm done writing, I kind of know where I stand. I'm like, sure, there's more cons, but like this feels like the right decision. Right. Like I don't let a pros and cons list decide, but at least I have it all on paper and know what I'm getting into.
For sure. It's like football players. Like when they are about to go play a game, they watch tape of the other team. You know what I mean? It's not just like what they can do. They're like, well, I'm the fastest wide receiver, or I'm well, I don't know enough positions, but like, you know what I mean? It's like they have to know what not only they can bring, but they got to know what else is out there. Like this guy, you know, has 47 tackles. This guy, you know, weighs 300 pounds. It's like you have to know constantly, like not just how you might feel, but like what are the other things in the environment that like can potentially affect you.
Yeah. I want to get back to your schizophrenic psychic abilities. So we were saying how like when we first met, I don't think either of us knew that you had this ability. So when did you kind of figure it out? Like when was the moment where you were like, oh, I think like I might have this ability?
When I was younger, I always knew that I was like, I always knew that I had a gut like instinct that if I followed, like things like kind of worked out for me, but I didn't know that I could like do it for other people. And I think probably within like the last like 2 years, I really got the more that I started like talking about it or started like telling people, it was like the more like I was like opening up like the portal. It sounds like crazy, but because I think being a comic, I was always kind of embarrassed of this side of myself because I was like, you know, I was like, comics are going to be like this fucking cuckoo. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to be like, Monterey's crazy. You know that? Yeah, she's a witch. She's fucking bad shit.
Also, I was just thinking about this today and last night. It really upset me. As a woman in general, and I hate being the person who's like, as a woman, like things can be hard. Because it's like everyone has a thing that can be hard, but like generally I notice like as a woman, especially in comedy, it's like I feel like people look for reasons not to take you seriously.
Absolutely.
And I was doing an ad for the underwear company Parade, which I'm a huge fan of. I love their underwear, whatever. And I was posting about it on my Instagram. I have a code that people can use, get 20% off, which is a great deal. I use the code to buy.
What's so good about their underwear?
They are really cute, first of all. And I have I'm wearing right now like a really ugly pair of underwear that I've probably had since 7th grade. You know what I mean? Like they're just so bad.
No. Yeah.
And so these ones are like cute. They're breathable. I get a lot.
They're like the cotton, like.
I don't know what material they are.
But they're like
really
the comfy
soft.
Ones.
But and they're like have these cute designs, and I feel like there's no like. I don't know. I just love them. Yeah. And they withstand. I've had other underwear that I've bought that just like shreds. Yeah, it's evaporated at this point. And this one's just cute. So I was like posting Instagram photos, doing the code thing, being on my influencer bullshit.
Yeah.
And this guy messaged me being like, "Oh, so you're like an underwear saleswoman now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're my favorite underwear. I really like them."
Yeah.
And he was like, "What a crazy world we live in, blah, blah, blah." And I'm just like, and then, I go into the requested DMs of like strangers. And it's like, I'm posting such a conservative photo of my underwear and bra. And people just I'm like, this is like a bathing suit. It's more covered up than a bathing suit.
Right.
And just people, like, I feel like they, I don't know. It's just annoying that you can't be multiple things at one time.
Totally.
I can't be a funny comedian and also post like a cute photo of me in my underwear and bra.
You can't be attractive and be funny. What are you doing?
And it's like when I'm wearing a turtleneck and like baggy jeans, guys are like, "Oh yeah, you're so hot. Like, when's your OnlyFans coming out?"
Or you have people be like, "You need to be comfortable with who you are. Stop hiding yourself." And you're like, "Oh my god, I can't win."
Yeah, you can't win.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not. Because I so badly wanted to post something like, here's a photo of me in clothes for anyone who, whatever. And then I was like, no, I'm not giving anyone satisfaction. I'm posting whatever I want to post. I'm wearing whatever I want to wear.
Totally.
But I can understand having this ability of like psychicism.
Yeah. I don't even know what it is. I was like, I was going to let you handle it.
You have this ability, and it's like, I understand the feeling of not wanting to share certain things because you want to be perceived in a certain light.
Yeah, I want people to just be like, oh, she's funny. But it's like, and it's funny too, like now with like social media, like people don't realize that it's like, when you're a person, you're not just a person from like where you started. So like, you're not just a comic. Your social media is a personal representation of like everything you are, you know what I mean? Like your work might be a comedian, but it's like you might also be a painter, and you might also be a fucking dog foster mom or what. It's like you could be all these things, and it's like your social media is your platform to be like, bro, like I'm a tastemaker. This is the shit I like. And if you like me, like then these are the songs I listen to. These are the underwear I like to wear. This is the drink that makes me fucking feel good, you know?
Exactly.
So I'm like, if you like me, like this is all of me. And so I just got comfortable too with just being like, sorry, I'm fucking dope. I'm a stand-up comic and I'm a psychic. And, I was going to make a sex joke, but I was like, I don't even want to do it. But I was like, and I swallow, you know what I mean? I just do all the things.
You do everything.
Yeah.
You're a woman of all jacks and trades and whatever.
Yeah.
But did you have to like, once you kind of were like, oh, I think that this might be something I'm capable of doing, did you have to like Google it? Were you like, how do I kind of hone in on this?
For me, like what happened was that like I had such strong, like there was like no denying it. Like I always tell people, I'm like, it kind of feels like I get like a vibration in the middle of my forehead, and then I just start to see like light. Like I start to see like tons of like, have you ever done psychedelics?
No. Never.
Okay. So anyone who's done, psychedelics, it's like when you close your eyes, like you have this like moment where you start like visuals start to like kick in, and it'll just be like colorful and like geometric patterns. And some people might not, have that, but it's like because they're, traumatized or tortured. But the more you do healing, you have like this access like that you can see these like visions, and it happens when you do psychedelics. But basically for whatever reason, like the neurons in my brain, it can happen when I'm not on psychedelics. It can happen through like meditation. So it was kind of like, I was like, there's literally no denial. Like I'm seeing and feeling like what I'm, getting. And I just started to like write down the messages, and it was always for other comics. So like I've asked their permission. So like the one girl was, do you know who Harper Rose is? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like I got like a message for her.
And this was like not when you were meditating. This just kind of flashed into your brain.
Yeah, this like flashed into my brain. And like at the time, like I knew of her, like I knew her, like, but I think I might have been friends with her on social media, but I wasn't like, I never like talked to her, hung out, never had her phone number. I maybe had like one-on-one conversation with her. So it wasn't like, I wasn't comfortable like, hey, something about your rape popped in my, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's basically what had happened. And I was like, dude, this is awkward. I'm not going to message her. And then the like voice in my head was like, just message her and ask her if she's been having nightmares. And I was like, this is so fucking weird. Like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, just ask her. And I'm like, okay. And so I DM her and I'm like, hey, hope you're doing well, girl. Anyway, any chance, have you been having nightmares? And she's like, yeah, I had a really crazy nightmare last night. It woke me up at like 4 a.m. And I was like, is it regarding rape by any chance?
Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, just throwing it out there.
Casual little rapey,
Do you like Twix or Reese's? She's like, what? And then she was like, yeah. And then she told me that I guess she was like she had just got a case open like back up like for her to like prosecute or whatever, and she was speaking with the lawyer, and I guess she was having like all these bad nightmares and all these kind of like bad like memories like popping up. And then they told me like a message like to say to her, and then she was like, thank you so much. And then like that has like happened to me now with like so many people. Wow. Where I'll just be like, I'm like, hey, it's me. Hope you're good. Did your grandpa punch you in the fucking face when you were 10? Okay, so here's the thing. And it'll just be like.
So why do you, like, is it typically things from the past that you can kind of see?
Yeah.
And then what do you, like, having that ability, I imagine, can be hard because it's like, first of all, how do I bring this up? And second of all, like, what good am I doing by bringing something up from the past?
Totally. So basically what I've been told is, so like every psychic, like for whatever reason, and it's usually significant to the work they've done themselves. So for me, I had a really crazy traumatic childhood, and I had to learn how to like heal myself and be okay. So now for whatever reason, my psychic gift is being able to like look at people and feel like whatever thing that they need to heal from that's preventing them from succeeding. So like they have blocks. And so like I can just see their blocks, and I'm like I was getting a tea with Michael D'Angelo the other day. Do you know Michael D'Angelo?
I do.
He works at the
improv.
Yeah, the Scar. I'm sorry, I feel bad.
That's
I'm like,
it is the
I'm
thing.
like, the Scar. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what you are. He has big calves, but no one sees it. So it's like I have
Everyone
to go with
sees the Scar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, and I like, so sometimes I can scan, like, so like if I'm meditating on a person and I see their body, like I can see like it's like kind of like an x-ray. I'm like, okay, he's fucked up in this part of the back, his front knee, like below the knee, and I'll just like see a thing. And so they told me for him to go to the chiropractor, and then they said 2008, like that, he'll know what that means. Just tell him 2008, but that's where like his physical injuries like have to do with. And then I was like, Michael, like what does 2008 mean to you? And he's like, that's when I joined the Marine Corps. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, you need to go to the chiropractor. It's like this and this in your back. And he knows I'm psychic, but like a lot of my friends will like give me shit. They're like, okay, witch. And I'm like, do it.
Hi everyone, just want to quickly shout out Parade for giving me the best underwear I've ever worn in my life, and not only the best but the cutest and the most comfortable, and I love them so much. I just used my own promo code to order I think 4 new pairs of underwear and a bralette because I'm obsessed with their products, and I also have underwear that I've had since like 8th grade that I'm trying to slowly get rid of. So I'm just trying to keep using more Parade underwear because I just like the company a lot. I like the options they have. There's so many different options and a lot of different sizes. I think they go up to 3XL. Yeah, they do. And they're just great. Their underwear has a starting price of just $8, and the bralettes have a starting price at $28. And I would recommend getting a bunch of things for yourself, for a loved one, for a teacher if you're doing illegal things. Don't do that. But if you want to try out some underwear, go to yourparade.com/AllieMac to apply their exclusive discount for this podcast, which is 20% off any orders of $40 and up. And trust me, it is easy to get carried away and spend $40 or more. But make sure if you do, you use my promo code AllieMac, ALIMAC, to wear some of the same underwear that I wear. Yeah, that sounds good. Get your little coochies on the website, or your not coochies. I should make my boyfriend try on a pair of their underwear. I think it'd look cute. Guys, fellas, try it. Try it. You might be into a new thing. There's some mesh or a little peekaboo. Try it out. Go to Your Parade, YOUR parade.com/ALIMAC to get a discount on your underwear. Bye. So wild.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's why I was so intrigued, because I think after I saw you at that show, I was, going on your social media. The thing that you do after you see someone.
You're like, oh, yeah, I haven't seen that.
Person.
Yeah.
You're like, let's see more of them online.
Yeah.
And then, I saw that you were doing this. And so I was like, oh, that's so sick.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted, I don't think I've ever gone to a psychic.
Yeah.
But I did have someone, here, hold on, off mic.
Okay. Yeah, I love him.
So I had him give me a reading.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great. It was not great. The way that he went about it wasn't necessarily my favorite.
Okay.
And also, like, what he said is very true, where it's like, I do have a block. Anytime I've ever talked to someone, it's like there's a block up.
Right.
Also, so funny, when I did Rogan's podcast, one of, like, the very top comments was, like, this girl sounds like she's always about to cry, which is so good. But I think it's true. I'm very emotionally blocked. So then when I saw that you were doing this, I was like, okay, like, let's see what this is about, because I'm very intrigued by it. It's not necessarily like, I think a lot of people, when they see psychics on the street, they're like, this is a ripoff, this is a scam.
And tons of them are. Just like there's tons of hack comics.
Totally.
You know what I mean? There's comics who are like, what are you going to do with soy sauce and chicken? And you're like, okay. And then there's comics who are like, are Dave Chappelle. So it's like, of course there's psychics just bullshitting people and ripping people off. Like,
And so that's why I was, it's something that I'm somewhat skeptical of.
Yeah.
However, I'm open to all things magical.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know what you brought.
Yeah. So I brought, like, this is like a regular, like, tarot deck. This is the Raider White Smith deck. So they're all the last names of the three people who produced the tarot, so like the publisher, the artist, and then the guy who like was the psychic who like created this deck. And then I brought my angel cards because I fucks with angels, Allie Mac. So and then I brought this is a fairy deck card. So basically,
what's the difference between all these decks?
Yep. So like every person can use, like, I can read you without the cards, like, if I'm being honest. Like, I can just tell you what I channeled, like, when I meditated. But like tarot cards, they also, it depends. There are some people who just read them and they just like know what the meanings mean. So they're just kind of giving you interpretations.
It's almost like a horoscope in a newspaper. It's a generalized idea for multiple people. Whereas if someone really understands the cards but also understands the person, then they can give a more specific reading based on what they know about the cards and the person.
Exactly. Perfect. And so, and all these different decks. So like this deck is like, this is the most common deck. And basically, so like all the suits, it's kind of like a card deck, like, playing cards. So diamonds, clubs, hearts, spades. So like these have wands, pentacles, cups, and swords. So like all the decks represent, all the suits like represent like different aspects of your life. So like one could be money, one could be career, one could be love, and one could be like thought and like emotion. So basically, when you like learn to like read the decks, when you learn to read the cards, you're kind of putting together like all the information like in real time, where you're kind of like storytelling. But then these other decks, so like a fairy deck. So like I like to use a fairy deck like as in like what information can help you like resolve your problems. Because it's like for whatever reason, like they just always give kind of like directions that are like helpful. And then the angel deck, I personally like to use it as like where the person's like soul is like right now, because like we all are a self and like a soul. So you know, you always hear people being like, you know, I got everything I wanted, like I got JFL and I got it doesn't even need to be comedy, but whatever your goal is in comedy, you know, I mean in life. And people will be like, I'm still not happy. It's because you took care of yourself, but you like your human sides, but like you didn't take care of like your soul self. And like your soul self is the self that it's like, you know, you hear people talking about like compassion or giving back or being inspired or, you know, doing something that's like selfless. Like those are the things that we normally don't do. And like that's why we kind of always have these little holes in us, but we're like, but I'm doing all this shit, and you're like, yeah, but you're not really taking care of like your soul.
That's why, I mean, I'm sober, a lot of people know that. That's why I really like, you know, a 12-step program, because a lot of it is like, you know, how do we give back, how do we do something for other people, like how do we benefit ourselves while being able to help someone else. And I mean, you know, I'm sure you can see it in other people too. Like, you know, people I'm close with will be like, oh, I still don't feel fulfilled. Like, I have my dream job. I'm doing everything right. But like, I still feel like there's something more, or like I'm lacking something. And I'm always like, well, how can you help someone? Like in the smallest ways.
Totally.
Because then it feels like there's a bigger purpose than just me, and my small sense of being.
It's just one of those things, like anytime you could get out of the habit of just being you, which is like so hard to do, because it's like we're ourselves like every day, like what do I need, what do I have to do, like who do I have to call, and it's like that it could be draining, it could be repetitive, but like also it could be like really narcissistic, you know what I mean? So it's like
totally, it's very ego driven.
And it's like there's like times where I'm like, oh fuck, like what do I do that like people can actually benefit from, or like what, like when I die, like is it going to be like, oh well, she really helped, you know, us do this, or she inspired this, or she changed that. And it's like a lot of people, it's like you just die, and you're like, you're dead, what'd you do? Oh, you were at the office for 25 years, Chuck. Like, thank you for your cert. There's nothing there. You know what I mean? Like people are just placeholders in life. And it's like, your job isn't the thing that's going to define you being a placeholder. Like how you impact people is.
So do you recommend doing all of these, or?
So I do, like I kind of make a little, you'll see. So like I'll draw the cards, and then they kind of just like guide me of like what information like you need to hear.
Okay.
But before do you want me to tell you what I popped up in meditation? For you? Okay. And like I said, you can edit any of this out.
Because, I'm very excited and also scared, but mostly excited.
Okay. So we're being open, and you know, we're just doing the thing.
I'm opening my vagina towards you to bring in the openness and vulnerability.
Women connect. Okay. So one, I'm seeing, I'm not sure. So I'm seeing disappointment between the mom and the father. Like you have separate like disappointments, like from both of them. Mom might have, substance abuse problem, or like something with like alcohol and drugs. And then seeing that dad is there's a hole from dad, which is hard because I don't think that you'd be comfortable admitting it, because your dad's more of like a friend. And is this true?
Yeah,
okay. Dad's more like a friend, which there was moments in your childhood. So like a lot of these things are things like you might have not realized yet, but like you'll be like, oh shit, that doesn't make sense. Because when you were younger, you needed your dad to like step in and be a father. And there was something when I was meditating on you, I saw a family photo. I don't know if it's an actual photo, if it was just trying to give me the age. I'm seeing around anywhere from like 9 to 11. And there's like a traumatic, or there was like an event, something young. And I saw, I don't know if it was like, there's a photo of you, and I don't know if you're in red or if red means embarrassment, but I'm seeing like, and it might be like you're the only person in the photo. Could have been from like a grandpa's birthday, or from a like a family reunion, or from like some family party, a Christmas or something. Wait, are you Jewish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Half.
Okay. I was like, do you do Christmas? But there's a picture of you, and they were saying that the picture that was taken on that day, there's some like event that happened to you that's like, I don't know if it's something that you are cognizant of the event. Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to like put it together, but I can't think of anything.
Okay. But it's something to do with like, and I don't know if it doesn't have to be, but it's something to do with like sexual abuse or sexual, like something like in that realm. And like that's when, you know, you needed like mom and dad to like see, now sometimes I start to feel emotional, but you needed like mom and dad to like step in, and like they somehow like weren't there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure like if they like just weren't like physically present or weren't like emotionally present for you to either be like comfortable or for you to maybe there was like not being believed or like something, but it's like there's something there with that. I don't know if you want to talk.
No, I mean, I'm going to have to go through all the photo albums now, but that's something that's interesting because that was another thing from the other reading I did that came up was like some sort of sexual trauma.
Yeah.
But I have no recollection of ever being sexually traumatized.
Oh.
But there's always been something in me where I'm like, I feel like I have been and I just don't know.
You're blocking it. Yeah.
And so that's always been something that's like very upsetting to me because I'm like, I'm creating a trauma or there is one there that I don't know about. But the way that the reading happened last time was like, just the way... I don't know so then I'm like calling my mom after. I'm like, was I molested? Was I R-worded? Like I don't know.
R-worded. Yeah.
And my mom was like, I don't know. I hope not. But like, but now I'm going to go through the photo albums. Yeah. I'm going to really like think about
the photo. And it could be, it's, you know, there's a lot of the times too, like what I try to tell people, because it's like, you know, sometimes we don't have sometimes the physical act isn't always, you know, done to us, but say you're around someone who is a creep, like who's like a pedophile, kids can pick up on that energy, especially when they're young, when someone's like, someone could have been like helping you climb a fence and they're like touching your vagina to like help you over, or like you're trying to reach something and they're grabbing you and and you're like, okay, like I got it. So it's like, you know, when we think of sexual abuse, we automatically think of rape or we automatically think of a molestation, but there's a sexual abuse where it's like you were taken advantage of, but it's not something
more casual.
Yeah,
a casual molestation.
A little casual molestation. Yeah.
A chill, subtle,
you know,
low-key.
little cute molestation. You know, there's a hierarchy to it, and I tell women that all the time. I'm like, if you just got groped, like, you don't write a blog, okay? Like, let the real soldiers fucking fight this fight. It's not you.
Yeah,
okay?
Put them at the front of the lines.
Yeah. All right, because there's some of us. I'm like, bitch. Like, I've done 2 tours. Okay, I've done 2 tours. Like,
you've earned your medals.
I got my fucking Purple Heart.
Yeah,
and a Black Heart. But it's like I earned it.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think every time, because I think this happened in high school where I started to be like, I feel like I might have been assaulted at some point.
Yeah.
And I couldn't point a finger on it. I didn't know what it was from. I'm like, maybe I just like watched too much Law and Order and it kind of like got into my head that every woman has been abused.
I think that there is something there, especially if another psychic like popped it, like said that too. It's something definitely. And like I said, it might not be like where someone's like, be quiet, Allie. And then they're like, you know, fond, but it could have been something where it's like an adult was like, you know, kind of, infatuated with you and you like felt like those feelings when you were young and you're like, oh, he's always looking at me, or like he's like, you know, I'm in my swimsuit as a kid and he's like, yeah, like do another lap, Allie, and you're like, oh, gross, you know.
Because I think in my head when I got that feeling it was like, oh, it must have been something like very severe, where, you know. But now that you say that, it's gonna make me kind of re-question and like reanalyze things. But I can't put a finger on it. But you're thinking like 9 through 11.
9 through 11. Yeah.
So it would have been like 5th, 6th grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to look through the album.
Yeah, look through the album and
look
see
for photos in red.
Yeah.
Family events.
Exactly. Something of there. Like I just saw that. And then I saw the neglect of the mom, like alcohol or drugs. And then I saw the father like being a friend to you, where you're like, oh, you needed him to be a dad, which that is also some of your emotional like blocks, like, because when parents aren't like nurturing at a very young age, it creates like you to kind of just navigate your relationships as like very matter of fact and very cool and just whatever.
Totally.
Because you don't know how to receive love because you weren't given love like that.
Yes. And that's something that I do know about my dad,
Yeah.
is that I was the youngest. So at that point he was like, and he was raising me because my mom's an alcoholic, and you know, my dad had majority of custody.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always viewed my dad as a pal, as a buddy, because he would talk about women in front of me. When we'd have lunch together, he'd stare at women. So in my head, I viewed my dad as just like a horny dude.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So maybe because, like I said, remember I said the picture and the red, because red could also mean embarrassment. I wonder if the sexualization was you as a kid seeing your dad sexualizing women, and that like kind of gave you like a weird like complex. Because the other thing that I wrote down was that there's some mentor or there's some older guy friend or whatever, could be comic, could be non-comic, that they somehow trigger this same thing from you so it's like, I don't know if it's like how a man is treating a woman or how they are viewing a woman or how they're respecting a woman, but it's triggering something of that same age of that thing that I'm just talking about.
Yeah. So you're saying that there's someone that I know or something.
It's a person. Yeah, it's a person. It's definitely a man. It's a guy that you know that's triggering you, and you might be aware that you're triggered, but you just like don't. You're like I don't know why I'm feeling like this around this person, or I don't. It's not like they're doing anything bad to you.
Yeah.
It's just them, how they're treating their energy. Like... Yeah. And then I want to say, okay, there's actually one thing I'll talk to you off camera about.
Ooh.
Just because it's like, yeah.
Okay.
And then okay, depression. So you have depression.
Yeah.
I'm like, you are sad.
Wow, good guess. Good guess. Can't believe you dug that up.
Yeah, I was like, what? This is crazy. This is news. Depression, but the depression comes from hopelessness. So the hopelessness is because of the disappointment from the mother at a young age, because like you have to come to a point where you have like full acceptance of like knowing that like there's a part of you, I don't know if it's like now or when you were younger, where it's like you would like almost like beg for her or be like just if you love me you'd stop drinking. Mm-hmm. Like if I matter to you, like I don't get why like you can't like get it together.
Yeah.
And so when you have that disappointment at such a young age, it's crippling, because you're like, well, if my own parent doesn't love me enough to treat me right and to be a support system and to be in my life, then none of these other people are going to do it.
Yeah.
And so you have trust issues now, and it comes a lot in your intimate relationships, because you have trust issues from both the mother and the father side. The father side of like the taking care of and like needing to step up in a certain way. Like you have a hard time of like telling a man like, hey, I'm hurt, or like, hey, like I can't, don't go there with me. Like you can't do, you just shut down.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then you also, this is the part where I'm like, go with me, girl. You have a power over men. And you're like, okay.
Yes, I do.
Yes, you have a power over men, but you know you have a power over men, but it's it can be a healthy power. And so like there's a part of you, I don't know if like I don't know if you ever have like guilt or like shame because of it. If you're ever like, oh, like you just don't think that you're manipulating men. Like you can, and you know you can. And so it's like, but there's also like a good way of using your power, of like being able to help men change or help men be like, you have to be an example to them, because it's like there's times where it's like, I know, and it's like, it's one of those things where like, how to work and finesse them if need be. And that's a great thing. A lot of women don't have that. A lot of women are very, nervous and frantic, and, but like you don't have that whatsoever, which is a good thing. But you just have to know at the same time where it's like, you have to like use your power for good,
Not evil.
Yeah, not evil.
Yeah, I've done
like,
both.
Yeah. And it's like, it's okay. Like, but like the reason I say that is because like in 5-6 years, you don't want that to bite you in the ass.
Totally.
Yeah. So just like make sure, because I was like, when it came up, I was like, oh, this girl's she's got like sexual energy, but it's not even just sexual too. Like, it's just like, you have a way of like connecting with them, and then they're like a little puppy, little slave for you. And you're like, okay. But then also that can be in your intimate relationships too, where it's like, you're going to have to at one point date an equal.
Yes.
Because most people you will have a power over, and then you're not going to like grow and evolve in those kind of relationships. Yeah. So it's like, you got to date someone who's going to be an equal, and it's going to be hard, but that's when you're really going to like, that's when shit's going to pop off.
Yeah, I tell my boyfriend now, I'm like, you need to tell me your opinions on things and like what you want and what you need, because if not, I'm going to
run all over you,
control everything in every situation, and I'm going to make every decision.
Yep.
Because in the beginning, that's what I will want, but in the end, I will be annoyed.
You, and I will be turned off by you.
And that's why I'm glad now I have like the communication skills to be like, this is what I might do, and this is how you can stop me from being this
Also,
person.
do you wear a retainer?
I have a permanent bottom retainer.
Okay. But are you supposed to be wearing another retainer?
I was given a top retainer, but I had my braces on for like 6 years, so they just don't move.
Okay.
But I'm going to get a mouth guard. Why do you ask about the retainer?
I asked about that because something just said, like, tell her to wear her retainer.
Oh, I have an appointment next month for a mouth guard.
Okay, maybe
that's it. And so they're fitting my...
Are you like biting your teeth or grinding at night or something? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't know for a fact I am, but I think I am.
Okay, yeah.
And also, happy to report, me and my mom are going to do group therapy, family therapy together. Yeah. Because I was staying with her at the beginning of COVID, and I was being so mean to her. Like, I would just snap. I did not want to be mean to her.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, you're treating me like I'm still the childhood mom that, like, was drinking and, like, not being there for you. And she was like, I'm letting you stay at my house. I'm cooking for you. Like, I'm being nice. So, like... you need to work on these issues.
Yeah, wow.
And I was like, damn.
Yeah. Well, how long has she been sober now?
It's kind of on and off.
You're like, it's been a month.
Yeah. 2 days.
2 days.
It's kind of off and on.
Yeah.
She'll be sober for long amounts of time. But then every once in a while the shoe will drop.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah.
It is hard. And then...
What did she do for work growing up?
Her and my dad are both longshoremen.
What the fuck is that?
It's like, have you seen The Wire?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. But like, it's essentially like the stuff that comes in on cargo ships from China or wherever. It gets dropped off at the ports of Long Beach or San Pedro. So both my dad and my mom transport the cargo onto land.
So they're like blue collar.
Very blue collar.
Okay, I don't know.
People always think that I'm like a
I thought your parent was like a lawyer or something.
No, they're both like very much blue collar.
Because you want to know why? You have like rich girl energy, which is good, but it's like, I'll say a name off line or whatever, but there's another girl who it's like, you're like, oh, she came from rich, like, you're like, her parents are somebody or something.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And so I'm like, but it's interesting because so many people who have the thing, it's like Urban Outfitters, where it's like they purposely will make their pants or whatever look dingy, or their shoes, and it's like, oh, and then there's people who are like just genuinely artists or don't give a fuck, and that's like what their clothes look like, or they thrifted their shirts. But now there's a style where like, we'll make it look thrifted for $300. And so it's like, so you have two of those people. One's actually that, and one's being that because they have a fear of just being like, hey, I'm fucking rich. Sorry. That's why I love John Parks. He's like, yeah, I grew up rich.
I know. I love rich people who are just like, I'm rich. I'm like, that's awesome.
I know.
I love that.
Just be authentic. I don't care what you are.
Yeah.
Just be authentic.
I was in New York and I visited a friend who it's one of those people who I met her working a job and we only knew each other from that job. We'd never hung out outside of that.
Right.
But we'd always stayed in touch through Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
And I went to go visit her in New York and I don't know anything about her.
Yeah.
I get to her apartment. It's so nice. And she was like, oh, yeah, like, I don't know if you know, but, like, I'm rich. And, like, my parents pay for this apartment. And I was like, that's so cool.
Awesome.
Thank you for telling me.
Be proud of, like, and it's the same thing because it's like, dude, you can't help, like, who your parents are. But all you can do is just, like, have the awareness and just be like, you know, I'm like, be cool. Like, if your parents are rich, I'm like, you better have the best fucking slumber party. That's it. Like,
yeah, let me be a part
live
of
a
it
little
in some
from
way.
you. Yeah.
Sure.
And if your parents have nepotism in the industry, I'm like, just make sure that you put on other comics that you know don't have the plug like you do.
Totally.
Don't act like you're this righteous person when you're fucking not.
Yeah.
You know?
So is that my reading?
No, I mean, that was just what I meditated on. Yeah, that was part one. And it's like, so, you know, those are things for you to think over and whatever. Remember the power thing with men things. It's like, you don't want anything biting you back in the ass.
Totally.
Okay. So, you know, I got to be Aunt Monterey sometimes and tell people, you know, the real. So now I'm going to do your cards and you can I can just tell you what the cards, like what's popping up in them, or you can ask me a question and then I'll tell you, like, based on the question that you asked, I'll tell you like what your results are. So it's up to you, sister.
So the first deck is the tarot.
Yeah. So the first deck is the tarot. And I was like, I'm going to try to not drop them through in the couch.
Hey, it's me again. Just want to give another shout out to Magic Spoon. I'm sure you've heard it on one of your favorite podcasts before, but they're now sponsoring our podcast. If you're not familiar with Magic Spoon, it is a cereal. It's a nice alternative to some of your favorite cereals you used to eat as a kid that you looked at the ingredients as an adult and were like, what the hell is in this? And how am I eating a bajillion grams of sugar with one bite of cereal? Well, Magic Spoon has got you covered. They have a new alternative to your favorite sugary, terrible cereals for you. And they made the cereal really nice with really good ingredients. And here's the best part. It has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. That sounds like a full meal. Throw the steak away, make cereal, be a good single father. Like my dad was, and just give your kids cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Get them the Magic Spoon. There's only 140 calories in a serving. And get a big bowl of this. Pull your cereal spoon out because it's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. They have a variety pack. They have 4 flavors: cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter that come in the variety pack. I think the variety pack's the way to go. That way you can pick your favorites. You know what to get for next time, but, you know, initially you can just get them all. I like to combine a couple flavors at once. I get a little wild. I get a little overboard. I let it brew in that milk and just let it get soggy because that's my favorite way to eat cereal. If you don't let it get a little bit soggy, you're a psychopath. But Magic Spoon is great. I am a big nighttime cereal eater for when I've already eaten dinner, but I need a little snack. And now I can sleep well knowing that I'm not eating a fistful of sugar and whatnot. So if you're interested in trying out Magic Spoon, which I highly suggest you try, give it a shot. Why not? It's good to have in the cupboard. Pull it out whenever you need a little crunch in your life. You can go to magicspoon.com/AliMac, ALIMAC, to grab a variety pack like I mentioned and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code AliMac, ALIMAC, at checkout to save $5 off your order. And here's what's nice about this. Magic Spoon is so confident. They got BDE. They got big... Can I say dick in an ad read? I don't know, but they have big dick energy, big cereal energy. They're so confident that you're going to like it that they got big spoon energy, big Magic Spoon energy. If you buy it and you're not in love with it, which is fine, you're allowed to not like certain things. But if you try it and you're not that into it, you can get your money back, all of it, a complete refund, no questions asked. That's because of their 100% happiness guarantee. That's how you know that they're like a legit healthy brand, is they're like, we just want you to be happy. Don't worry about it. We'll pray for you. So that's great. If you're worried about losing money on something you don't love, then Magic Spoon will happily throw that money back in your face and say, we don't need your money, you loser. We want you to like our product. So remember to get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/AllieMac and or use the code AllieMac to save $5 off. Try the variety pack. Try whatever you want. The variety pack has a lot to offer, so check it out. Back to the podcast.
But here we go. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Uh-oh. No, I'm kidding. I'm like, Allie, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's not looking good.
You are fucking possessed.
It is not looking good for me.
Yeah. Just, look both ways when you're... No, I'm totally kidding. And okay, so start thinking of like right now, like in your head, just like if you want it to be like general, just be like, I'm open to like whatever knowledge or information that I'm supposed to be gaining. Or if you have a specific question, start asking it in your head now.
Okay, a specific question.
Okay, and then we got one more deck, and then we're all good.
Okay. You also, there's a great time to plug your podcast.
Oh, yeah. So my podcast is called the Shamanic Podcast. It's part shaman, part comic, one healing podcast. Mm-hmm. And I basically try to like use my podcast as a way of like intro to spirituality, where I talk about all these like spiritual terms and, practices, but I use it in like a comics like filter where I just like, I'll be like, okay, this is what the fuck astrology is. Like, this is what this is, where it's not all foo-foo.
It's not like, it's not LA spiritual.
Exactly. I'm not
it's
like,
straight to
if
the
you
point.
Open your chakra and you let energy flow in, you raise your like, I'm not like doing that.
Yeah.
Like, because that's not how I came into this. Like, I literally just am like a witness and an observer of like all the things that happen to me, where I'm like, oh my God, you guys, this shit is fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, where I'm like, I've learned how to just like program my thoughts and like physically release energy from my body through different like yoga poses, where I'm like, oh shit, this is why this stuff has been around for thousands of years. So it's like, I felt my body like shake and like stuff come out of it. And then I'm like, oh my God, they're like orgasms, but just energy.
Spiritual orgasms.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like,
beautiful.
I was like, people need to know this shit. And I was like, but people get so turned off because, there's a girl like, okay, like, Allie, like, you got to collect your energy right now. And you're like, I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
There's no way.
She's like trading in her crystals for Coachella passes.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, you don't got it going on. And I feel this one. Okay, Allie Mac.
Here we go.
Okay, let me
The truth is out there.
The truth is ready. Okay. So, first of all, we got decisions to be making. Okay. So, there is either wait, do you want to tell me what your question is, or do you want me to just tell you what I see popping?
Curious just what's coming up, and then maybe I'll
Okay.
present the question.
Okay, so you are at a point right now where I don't know if there's like a new job opportunity, or it could be like a relationship where it's like you're going to have to like leave the habits and the routines that like you used to, that like were kind of like your common like everyday like normal. And for me, it feels career based. I don't know if it's already has been presented to you, or if it's something that's like on the horizon. But when this opportunity is presented to you, it's going to feel like it's going to be bittersweet. Like, where it's like, oh, fuck. Because I don't think it's changing locations, but it's something where it's like you're going to have to like leave a lot of stuff. Like, whether it's like certain like relationships, or it's like a certain like routine that you're doing every day, or if it's like I said, changing locations. But I see you having to like say goodbye to a lot of things. But once you do that, it's like you're gonna like level up. And I feel like right now, I don't know if you're feeling like a creative, what is this?
Plateau?
Yeah, a creative plateau or like a standstill. But they're saying that it's like once you like are willing to be like, all right, I got to make these sacrifices, whatever these sacrifices are, I feel like deep down you already know. Whatever these sacrifices are, once you do that, they're saying like the creativity like will flow because when you go to the I said this on my Instagram before, but it's like when you go to the chiropractor and something's fucked up in your neck, it's fucks up your lower back and then it fucks up your knee, and you're like, oh, my knee's fucked up because of the neck, because of the back, and because my knee's fucked up, I don't feel like working out because it hurts my body and I'm not working out and I'm gaining weight. And you're like, oh my God, that's all connected just through the neck. Yeah. So our emotional body works like that too. So it's like if you have a block where you keep hanging out with someone that you know is bad for you, is toxic, but you're just like, oh, it's fine because like they're going to present me with an opportunity and I don't want to lose that opportunity. But because you're doing it against what's actually beneficial for you, you're creating a block, and then that block can bleed out into your love life. That block can lead out into like your self-worth, like it emotionally is connected just like how you're physically connected. So once you do go ahead and make those sacrifices or like leap from something that I think you already know what it is, then that's when the creativity like has the chance to be like, well, now we can come in because now it's like that you have removed that block like yourself. And I don't know, I think like right now you're taking on a lot of, it's either you're either stressing yourself out with like a lot of like thoughts and of ideas of like how to like level up or like go on to like another career thing. Like you're either like, I have to make content, I have to do this, I have to get on this podcast, I have to have these shows, I have to get it's either that or you're taking on too many things where you're like just saying yes to everybody. Like I could do your show, I could do this podcast, I can I'll go there, I can sign. It's either or. But you have to be comfortable, you have to get comfortable saying no, and you have to be comfortable just like doing the things that like you want to do and like not having like guilt or like shame for it. Is any of this resonating so far?
I have been thinking about moving to New York once my lease is up at my place. And so that would kind of, be a thing where if me and my boyfriend are still together, would we do long distance? Would he come with me?
When you said, I feel really good about New York for you.
Yeah, me too.
I really do.
Me too.
And so like when I was saying like leaving and changing, I didn't want to say change location because I was like, fuck, I feel like that's it. But I feel like she's not going to like when I say that. But it's like when I said change location, I was like, I feel like it might be location or something. But it's like, yeah, that was the I think, New York, it's going to be like stressful and you're going to be like, fuck. But I think there's a lot of career opportunity for you there. And I think not that you don't have it here, but it's just like headspace of like how your life or how you spend your day or the influences around you that like get you in your best like rhythm. And for whatever reason, I think, and it might not be forever, but for whatever reason, I feel like New York for your type of, I feel like you're a person, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're the kind of person when you need a little structure. You need structure because when you don't have structure, you kind of just like you're stuck in your head a lot. I don't know if it's like in fantasy, just like thinking a lot or like whatever, but you don't like make like moves.
Totally. I say that all the time.
Yeah.
That I need structure. Like when I get my day started, if I don't start it the way I needed to start, it's done. A nightmare.
Yeah. It's done.
But the thing about the saying yes to too many things or trying to do too much, I feel like that might have been relevant at some point, but I feel like now I'm pretty good about just being like, I'm not interested.
Okay, good. Yeah. We'll keep that.
Even just with like the podcast and like sponsorships for it, it's like I'll get a lot of offers for certain things, but like if I'm not interested, I'm not going to do it. Good. And even with that, like I was getting sponsorships where it's like, oh, do 3 different ads for one podcast. And I was like, that's too much. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do 2 ads for things that I like and let it slowly go over time.
Keep that notion, because it's like, that's going to come up for you that's going to be something that like you're going to have to battle with like your whole career.
Yeah.
Like that is something where I don't mean just like advertisement, but it's going to come where they're like, Allie, like we can add another theater date. You can get 30,000 more done. And you're like, fuck, I'm so tired. I'm so burnt out.
Yeah.
And people, because they make a commission off of you, they're going to pressure you. So your publicist is going to pressure you like, Allie, this is really good press. And a lawyer's going to pressure you. And because like, yeah, we'll sign this contract because it could, you know what I mean? And then the manager's going to, so it's like, keep that, because it's like that's something that'll always pop up for you and you can't feel guilt.
Okay.
Because that, like the thing that like so much of our depression or our the blues that we feel is off of guilt for like feeling like we're neglecting other people or pissing other people off.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you are literally like stabbing yourself when you go against like what's good for you, because when you do things that like that's like fucking people. Like if you fuck someone you did not want to fuck them, like you think you're gonna orgasm? No, of course not. So it's like we do that with our work life. We do that with our friendship. We do that in so many other aspects. And then we're like, wait, why am I miserable? Because you keep making decisions for other people.
Yeah.
And if you have people around you that like truly like get you and back you up, then it's like, then they'll be fine. And if they don't, they gotta go.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. There's one thing that I know I need to follow that advice on.
Right. And then for let's see where your soul is at. So your soul, you have believe in dreams, growing, and door to the infinite. So believe in dreams, I always tell people if they pull that, like that is like, again, like sticking with your gut. Like if you know something like in your gut and you're like, this is just what it is and it doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. Like remember there were scientists at one point being like, hey, the earth is not flat. And everybody's like, okay, you fucking idiot. And then, eventually we had the science to back it up and it's like, okay, but millions of people like didn't believe one person because they didn't have
they still don't.
Yeah. And and they're still out there, So, and then growing is, it's like usually, which is perfect that you got it with the other card of like change, is like saying that like with the door to infinite is like, that usually is like, yes, like this is a big like crossroads of like, all right, change is going to happen. Like change is happening. It's going to happen. And the good thing about this change is it's actually like for your soul's like evolution.
Ooh,
where you're
I like that.
Okay, like this isn't just like for career, like which you might think that's it, but it's like, oh no, like this is like going to be like a shift in like perspective, a shift in like blocks, a shift in, belief systems. So it's like there's a lot of growth that's like beyond, just the, again, like human sides. And then the fairies give us our advice and honoring your true feelings. So again, it's like you keep pulling like kind of the same message of like, all right, like something in you knows something. And it's like, just like, Allie, yes. Just
that's
fucking
so
do
interesting.
It. Yeah. So it's like when you pull like this kind of like similar cards from all 3 decks, then it's just like, it's someone like punching you in the face, like, bitch, do you get it? And you're like, okay, like I got it.
And I'm like, do I have it? I don't know.
Yeah, you just quit stand up. You're like, Monarey, listen to you. Like,
I'm done.
I'm
a school teacher.
I'm a truck driver.
Yeah. Maybe that's my true purpose.
That's your true purpose.
And then I just drive my truck to all my road gigs.
York. Yeah.
To New York, to my shows.
I mean, I think
you can have it all.
We figured it out. And then you have visualization and positive expectations. When you pull visualizations, that's like, do you do like any meditation or anything?
No, I need to though.
Yeah.
I do need to. I say that.
Yeah. But yeah, like give yourself, because it's like a workout for your brain. So it's like start slow, like give yourself 5 minutes, for a week and then do 10 minutes for a week. But visualizations also is something to do too. Like whenever you have like, say something that's like bothering you, like say, a memory or an action somebody did or, a relationship that's not working out, like visualize like what would be the perfect scenario for it to be okay. So like when you visualize that, you kind of like get off of the thing of like, well, they should have done this and they should have done that, and this is why I'm mad. Well, if they could have, you're it's still very like one-sided, and there might be like perspective or a change of heart, like once you like sit and think on something of like, in the best case scenario, like how would this look? So it's like a lot of the times whenever you're like making a decision, visualize it before you like make a decision and see like what the best scenario is, instead of like just acting off of your emotions. So a lot of times it could just mean like we're impulsive and we're just like, I feel this and I'm going to say this. I feel this, I'm going to do this. And it's like, no, take a step back. Yeah. And then you have positive expectations, which I think that's just saying, girl, New York is it. I really do think. What was your question though? Did you?
Oh, the question was just about the reading and like the 9 through 11, something might have happened. So I was like, okay, maybe there's some clarity on opening up. So maybe I just need to meditate. I need to be open to hearing about it or knowing what it is.
Right. Or just going through, it could just be, it could be like I said, like somebody in the family or a friend that like just kind of just like made you feel weird and made you feel uncomfortable. And it's like sometimes just like addressing like, oh yeah, that person did make me uncomfortable. It doesn't have to be this evil act or whatever, but it's like there's something at that age. But when you said the dad thing about him hitting on other women in front of you at a young age, like to me, that feels like, ooh, because then when it said something with like the mentor or like something was like re-triggering that, like I don't know if like you're seeing like a guy cheat on his wife or something and you're like, ooh, and it like made you think of where it's like it's something where it's just connected of like that event that is happening like in your now is triggering to like something that happened when you were young, where it was like a disappointment or like a letdown or just a negative connotation between like a man. You know?
I'm definitely very sensitive to people's behavior. Like even like because my mom was an alcoholic, like if I'm around drunk people, once they hit that point where their eyes roll back and it's like I'm seeing a different person, that's very triggering for me. It makes me really uncomfortable. I have to leave because I'm like, I don't like being around that. And then I guess same thing with dudes when I see them being kind of like just creepy and like gross. I'm like, that is also very sensitive to me. And that's something that I've been aware of. And like as I got older, I was able to kind of separate, I love my dad. I think he was a great dad, but I think the way that I viewed him from a young age as being like a sexual being and having his desires, it was like, oh, now I have this different shift from like dad to just dude.
Yeah. No, totally. And like the older you get, like you realize where you're like, oh, like I'm my parents' parent.
Yeah, to an extent. I have 2 older sisters, so they were more of the parent's parent, and I was like always kind of the child. Baby. But definitely the older I get, the more I'm like, okay.
You realize that you're like more of like, I feel like most people, it's like we're better than our parents. Like, doesn't have to mean financially or whatever, but it's like, every generation before us, it's like there is something that like we benefited from, but then there's like a negative thing. Like say, what's the one younger than us? Gen Z. Are you Gen Z or are you?
I think I'm on the cusp.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle.
Yeah. And like people who are Gen Z, it's like they're so thoughtful, they're so considerate, they're so sensitive, they're so, like willing. But the negative aspect is they're so socially awkward. They have so much anxiety, they have so much depression. So it's like every generation fulfills an aspect of like the human psyche that hasn't been developed, and then every generation also they
have the fallback.
Have the fallback.
So if other people, do you do services for people like over Zoom or anything?
I don't now. I feel like because oh my god, sorry. I feel like there's times where I'm like, oh, I would like want to, but I think like now it's like I just want to give it to people. And I think because I'm a comic, like if I wasn't doing comedy, I'd be like, okay, like I need to like make money or something. But I think just doing it for people like as a gift, or like if like say Brittany Schmidt, do you know her? Yeah, like I had like a thing come through for her and I was like, can we meet for coffee? And she was like, okay. And I was like, so your mom came through. And I just like told her, and she was just like crying, and I was like, oh, like how could I be like, you owe me money for that, you know what I mean? Like but yeah, I just like doing it because it's just like, you know, it's the way that I can hopefully try and give back with.
Yeah. And then if people were wanting to find a psychic or find someone, like what are signs that they're going to be with like a good psychic, or like is there a way to tell if someone's kind of scamming you?
I always say this, and like obviously I always say like ask a reader if they can read without tarot cards. Like if you're like, and you don't have to be like an asshole, like, oh, could you do it without your fucking card? You know, you don't have to be like that. Just be like, oh, I'd really love a reading like where we like don't use a divinity tool. That's what they're called. So like people have like pendulums, or people have tarot cards or stone or whatever. But if you're like, you wanna be with someone who can like tap into information like without a tool, because a tool can be the thing that they can just be totally relying on, you know? Because it's like if I looked at the cards versus what I looked at when I meditated on you, those are two completely different messages. You know what I mean? And like one is like, all right, these are what these cards are saying, but then the other one is like me just sitting down, like being able to like think about you and just like pull in information. So you want them to at least have that, because then it's for sure going to be as specific as possible to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, I mean, just check out the podcast, the Shamanic Podcast. And then also you can follow me on Instagram. It's my name, Monarey, Monareym.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so glad I got to see you.
Yeah, I'm happy I got to see you too.
Thanks for listening to another episode of my podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe, rate, review, all of that stuff. And I'll see you next week. Bye.